I'm I'm trying some new technology here this morning. I quit using my PC last week because it seemed to be not my PC, but my iPad, because it seemed to be having some static in it. So this morning, I am doing this from my laptop. I mean, not my laptop, but my PC, which I started out on. I'm a little rattled, but that's okay. Um, Today, for the message that I wrote this morning on the email prayer, I talked about looking through different eyes. And what I meant by that is sometimes we look at things not from God's perspective, but from ours. And a lot of times our perspective isn't necessarily the right one. So I want to kind of give you an example of where we can maybe change our perspective. There is a song called Open My Eyes That I May See. And there is a little verse in it called Silent Now I Wait for Thee. Glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands that wonderful key that shall unlock and set me free. And that's basically the truth. Seeing, we've got a lot going on today in our world. And it hasn't always been what any of us want or wanted, but we don't have a choice. It is what it is, and so we can be unhappy about it. We can see it as something that is stifling us. We can see it as something that is making us grieve. We can see that is something that is doing a lot. It's keeping us away from people. It's putting us mostly in our houses. And part of that may be something we have no idea what's going on. So we can choose to see this in different eyes. We can deal with it in several ways. I found a great article yesterday from the Wall Street Journal on October the 6th, and it basically was us would love to do. But that meltdown really would be a result of what we think and not what is from God's perspective. Um, it may be a lot from fear that things aren't going to go back to normal, fear people fear that you're going to be lonely, or lots of different fears. But fear basically is the dark room where negatives are developed. And that's what we want to get rid of, is those negatives. We don't want to develop those negatives. We want to look at things through a more positive light. We could look through the glass darkly, or we could look through the glass with light. And that's really what I would choose to do. Um, when we try to control, we think we're alleviating our fears. But when you stop and think about it, we have control over very little. We don't control our bodies, how we breathe, how we can control how we think in any of the lanes, except the one right in front of you where you are. You can't control so many things in life. You control what you eat. You can control when you go to bed. And even those things might not necessarily be totally within your control. So control is something that maybe we could learn to give up a little bit and just give it over to God. Because we must learn to trust, and we know that there is a future waiting for us. We don't know what it is. And it may be beyond what we might be able to grasp right now. We really don't know. And I think in a positive way, I really honestly believe what a lot of us are going through is going to end up with a spiritual awakening. So What I would like you to do this morning is to close your eyes after we take a couple of deep breaths. Now, close your eyes, and I want you to think of something that you know you've been struggling with, that you've been seeing from your own perspective. Bring it up, think about it. Maybe it's missing people so much. Maybe it's mourning for what could have been or should have been. Maybe it's financial. Whatever it is, get all those thoughts out. I'll give you a little while. Okay, now let's take a few seconds to center yourself. Breathing in and out. Now, let's look at that same thing from God's perspective. Do you trust in God to take care of the situation? Do you trust and know that the highest good is happening for you now? Can you put that trust in God's hands, knowing that, and that God is always there? One of my favorite sayings is, if God be for us, who can be against us? Put the trust in God, knowing that whatever it is you're seeing from the negative perspective, you can walk out of that dark room and walk that problem into the light. You can face all those things that you've put in the negative and turn them into the positive. Look at it and open it to the light. Whatever it is that you're afraid of or concerned or worried about, bring it into the light. Look at it. Look at it in God's eyes. I came across something today. So I would like you to just come to the now and breathe in and out, because I want to show you what I found. God is opening a new door in your life, a life that no one can shut. Do you trust Him? God is opening a new door for you right now to look at things from a different perspective, from God's eyes. From God's eyes, where we don't have to know the what, the why, the wherefores. We don't have to know what's happening, why what's happening is happening now. We have to trust that is in our best interest and in our highest good. And sometimes when that happens, we're not always comfortable, but we have to trust and know. So I have three uh, affirmations for you today. I open my eyes to God's perspective. I open my eyes to God's perspective. I open my eyes to God's perspective. Seeing through the eyes of God brings me light. Seeing through the eyes of God brings me to the light. Seeing through the eyes of God brings me to the light. And the last one, life is a wonder to behold. Life is a wonder to behold. Life is a wonder to be. I want to remind you of something. If you weren't meant to live in this time, you wouldn't be here. We are all meant to be here right now, doing what we're doing, but maybe in a way where we're looking at it in the light and not the darkness. But this is a time that we're meant to be going through, for whatever reason, because it is learning the same thing, but we have the opportunity to look at it in God's light and through his eyes. So I hope you do. Have a great day.